Welcome back, you guys, to the podcast. We were trying to come up with a name for you all, kind of like a little club, gang name. And I want to tell you, have failed. I feel like originally when we were thinking about calling the podcast like Brunch Club or something around there, which I feel like was very overused, the names of like our community, I felt like were like very in touch, and now they're not. So anyway, we're going to table that for another day. But what we are going to be talking about today is something that is extremely top of mind for me. So I actually had a really important kind of personal meeting today about kind of next phases of my life and things that I'm working on and big investments I'm making and just changes that I'm making. And I was having a really good discussion with one of my girlfriends about just like how lonely this era of life really is. And I thought it would be very helpful to talk about making decisions for yourself in this chapter in a way that feels selfish in the best way. Because here's the deal. If you are what did I just call them? Like spaghetti factory fuckers or a pasta pussy. Those were the names we came up with, by the way, for you guys. If you are in our community right now, you're probably a woman and you probably struggle very much so with feeling like you can make decisions for yourself that doesn't also make you kind of cringe inside because you're like, well, if I do this, like I'm going to hurt this person this way. Or if I do this, like I can't be fully present in this relationship as much. And we always tend to put our best interest, our desires, our wants last. And I don't know if anyone else is like, oh my God, Ashley, thank God you're talking about this, but I need to be real with you all. You guys need to learn how to be a little bit more selfish. And in this conversation today, I just hope that you start to gain permission to maybe go after the things that you really want, because I know that you know what those things are. I want to kind of identify that first. But then secondly, like how do you navigate balance being selfish, but also still showing up for the people you love, being present in the relationships that you have, being empathetic to the fact that you are in different places as some of maybe your best friends right now. I think this is a very normal conversation. I don't think it can be tackled in the 20, 30 minutes that we're going to talk about it today, but I do hope that today is a start. So without further ado, let's kind of go ahead and jump into it. The reason I want to have this conversation today is because a year and a half ago, my life, and I think the direction that I was headed in my life, was very much centered around every single other person. So last year, 2023, going into 2024, I was single. I had been single for 8+ years, meaning that all of my friends were getting married, going into relationships, and I was the single one. I showed up to the wedding single. I was the third date or the third wheel at things. I really pretty much was never really like in that position where I felt like I had a partner. And one of my best friends, Lexi, you guys know her and love her. She's in that situation now. And it's really interesting to talk with her because every time she shares something, I'm like, oh my God, that was me a year ago. And I don't know if any of you guys have like recently changed your relationship status, but when you feel like you're the third wheel because you're the single one, and now you almost feel like you're a third wheel in a different thing because you're not the only one with kids, you kind of always just never feel like you're like integrated into what everyone else is doing. And it's interesting because I think I desire to be like a single girl right now. I'm not saying I'm not in my relationship, but like live a single girl life. I want to like be in a city. I want to like travel more. I want to like go out on a Thursday and wear one of my 240 pairs of shoes and like go sit at a bar. Like not because I want to like go and date. I just genuinely want to be in this era of feeling like I have a lot of freedom. And I feel like when I was actually single, I didn't do that at all. So now I'm almost like confused in this stage of my life because I feel like I'm in the wrong stage at the right time, but I'm in the right stage at the wrong time. And I don't really feel like safe and secure in the place that I'm at in life. And I actually feel like I've had this conversation with like a lot of women. I also have a lot of friends who have gotten married who are now like in their 30s and they're like, I feel like I got married really young. I'm having kids now. When do I get to prioritize myself? And it's not like that, you know, is the stigma of like, okay, you're married, you're always like going to feel like you didn't choose the right path. Or if you're single, you like wish you were in a relationship. Like, I think there's a combination of a lot of these things. But I keep having conversations with women who are like, what am I doing? Am I doing what I really want? And it was actually before this podcast episode, I read this quote and it like literally stuck out to me so much. But it basically says, if you're ever stuck on what you want, like if you're between two things in life, right? Like, do I get married now? Do I start dating, or do I prioritize being single? Or do I make that move? Or do I, change that job, or whatever it is, right? That you're kind of in between 2 or 3 options. Flip a coin, because here's the deal. When that coin goes into the air and starts flipping, you're going to start thinking, I hope it lands on this thing, right? When you're forced to actually make a decision, typically you know what you want, but usually the thing that we say we don't want is because we're afraid that wanting that means that we have to give up something else. And here's the deal. Is that true? Kind of. If you're going to go between two jobs, unless you're like that crazy person who worked like the 7 jobs at one time, and I think got arrested for that. I don't even know what the issue was there. But anyway, unless you're going to like work the 2 jobs or live in both cities or whatever, which sometimes financially is just not an option, you're probably going to have to give up one thing for the other. But at the end of the day, you only have so much capacity. Like you only have so many things you can do, jobs that you can work, people that you can put into your day, calls you can make, errands that you can run. Like we just are not someone who has unlimited, most of us, resources to go do anything and everything we want every single day. There's always going to be sacrifices. So my response to you, all in like, what do I do? What do I want? Like flip a coin. The moment that that coin's in the air, you don't tell me that you know that you want it to land one way or the other, that you're secretly hoping that it actually tells you this, because somehow that gives you some fancy ass fucking permission to go after what you actually want. Sure, you can live that way. But a lot of you guys actually do know what you want. I think we're just so afraid to get it. And so I wanted to have this discussion today because I'm kind of at this interesting place in my life where I had this aha moment recently where I realized that pretty much every decision, I'm playing with my fake engagement ring here that everyone tries to speculate I'm engaged. No, I just really like a ring on both fingers. So just mind you there. But I think people are really like struggling recently with living their life according to themselves versus like living their life according to like fake timelines that the world has given them, expectations that someone else has put on themselves that they've adopted for themselves, expectations of parents, expectations of friends. And the thing that I want to say to that is it's really, really, really hard because ultimately I think as people, and especially again, I work with a lot of women, I talk with a lot of women, you guys care so much about appeasing everyone in your life. You guys care so much about that when you make a decision that your friends are like, oh my God, this is exactly what I would choose. Or your parents are like, thank you so much for never moving away so that you're always 5 minutes away, even though you only see your parents once a month. And why the fuck do you need to live 5 minutes away from them? I'll never know. Or like, I have to do this thing because like, this is like what everyone else would do at this age. Or I have to have children at 25 because, that make sense. Or like, I, have this timeline in this. And again, do those things all exist? Yes. Like women, do we have a timeline on when we had to have children? Sure. But there's also methods around that. There's also the fact that I don't think that you should rush into something just because there's a stopper telling that you should. Just like I don't think that you should make a big decision just because someone's giving you a deadline for it, right? Like I think a lot of the time what I like to equate that is like marketing. When people are like, oh, the sale ends this weekend and you buy those pair of shoes that you don't want and they end up sitting in your closet. You shouldn't just have a baby just because your only window of having a baby is, before next year or before like the year after. Like, I just don't think that those things make sense. But again, we keep telling ourselves because, the world is saying these are the things that make sense or these are the things that a majority of people do that we have to adapt those as our own. And here's the thing that I want you guys to remember. Most days you wake up with like a blank canvas, right? Like, of course you have the body that you had yesterday. Of course you have some of the people in your life that you did yesterday. Of course you're like are living in the same home that you had yesterday. Sure, it's not a fully blank canvas. But one of the things I've been trying to adopt more recently this year is really starting off every single day and saying, what do I want to do today? Not what did I do yesterday, so what makes sense today? Or like, what did I think that I should be doing? It's like literally like if I could paint out my day, if I could literally take any color and literally paint out what my day is going to look like, I'm literally starting with a blank canvas. Like, what would I do? Now, the way that I evaluate that, of course, is like there's certain things in my day that I have to do, like my job or my calls or whatever. So like I put that in. But around that, I want you guys to imagine that you had like free will to do whatever you want. Because here's the fucking deal, you actually do. But for some reason, we forget that. What would your day look like? Would you walk outside in a city and walk around and say, oh my gosh, I can go grab my favorite obnoxiously caramelized drink 2 minutes down the road and then take a walk around a park? And that's what I would do. Or is it, I love that I live in a neighborhood because I want to like wake up and literally like rot in bed all day and do nothing. Now, every day, of course, is going to be different. But like when you really think about like your day, when you think about the people you want to spend time with, are you spending time with people because there's obligation to do that? I think a lot of us, when we get to like our late 20s and 30s, guilty, realize that a lot of the people in our lives make absolutely no sense anymore. Whether it's just we've grown apart or if they really just don't make sense anymore. I've, lost several friendships in the last couple of years. And at the time it was really hard. And now I look back and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, who would you spend time with? And not even like who's in my life that I can spend time with. Who would you spend time with? I don't want you to go look in your phone and say, who could I call today if I wanted to hang out? I want you to think of like someone that you follow or someone that you admire or someone just in your life. And you're like, who would you hang out with today? Why are you not friends with that person or similar people? Like, why do we put ourselves in these boxes where it's like we literally give ourselves like 6 dice and we're like, we roll the dice and 3 are already predetermined every single day? What if all 6 dice could literally be rolled every single day? What would you do? What would your day look like? How would you work out? Would you ride a bike? Would you go take a walk? Would you wear a certain outfit? Would you like start your day earlier or later? People always ask me like, why do I have the life I have now? And I think it's because I really started to shift and tell myself like I can actually create whatever I want. Now there's luxury in there and there's also transition in that. I can't go from a steady job, making money, these set of friends, these things, and literally like the next day be like, I'm not going to have any of those things, right? Like I'm assuming your friends would want some type of like transition out of your life if you're not going to spend as much time with them. Like that's probably naturally going to happen. You're probably just not going to never text them again. Or your job, you're probably going to have a transition period in finding that next job or starting the business or going off. But like, why are we not taking the first step to make that happen? Why do we keep living every single day saying, this is like the pathway that I have to choose that, I have to live that? I think that that's a question that I think I've started to ask myself more and more this year. So the thing I really want to identify is like, or help you guys just think about today is, what do you want? If you could literally, the game MASH, I've like totally forgot about that game, isn't it? It's like M is what, mansion, A is apartment, S is shack. Is it shack? Shack. Okay, don't choose that option. Just kidding. Shack, and then H is house. Okay, cool. So like, I want you guys to like think about that, right? Like MASH. Thank you, Lexi. See, this is why Lexi fucking is around. So Lexi was a very good decision. Made that decision last minute. Amazing decision. But when you guys think about that, like when you guys look at that, like what is that? And again, I know that there's money. I know that there's time. I know there's transition in those things. But what would you do if you just chose to get one step closer to those things today? If you want to move from a house to a city, what does it look like to take one step forward in that decision today? If you look at your friend group and you pull up your phone and you're like, I literally feel like I have no one to call. Like all my friends are busy. Like I had the other day, I was driving and, I have 3 friends that are single and like very, very available. And one's at a full-time job. The other one's like out in Chicago having the best weekend ever. My other friend's doing this. And I look down and I'm like, I don't have like anyone who just like can literally go grab drinks on a Thursday. And I like literally wrote down, I'm going to find drinks on a Thursday friends. Like I literally wrote that down. I was like, I need to find the person who on a random day is not tied down to a 9 to 5, is always down to clown and can go do those things. And like, that was something that I worked on. And it was funny. I was talking to one of my girlfriends. She's like, I need to do that more often too when we're like going to grab drinks. Like, why are we not taking the steps to go do those things? Because you actually know what you want. And I don't want you to tell me that you don't know what you want. Flip the fucking coin. And again, that's like kind of a silly example, but like, look at those 2 things. I don't think you're actually torn. And if it's 3 things, narrow it down to 2 and then do the same thing. What do you actually want? And I'll give you guys an example of something that was a really big kind of aha moment for me that I think is really important to share with you, because I think it actually gives you guys permission to do what you want, not what you think others want of you or what you think that you should do because it's more impressive. But I was talking to one of my good girlfriends who runs this extremely successful business. She's amazing, very talented, have a lot of admiration and respect for her. And she runs a pretty big team right now of maybe 5 or 6 people. And she's like, I'm taking this business to 8 figures. Ashley, I really want to grow this. And I remember like the first time she had told me this a couple months ago or years ago, like I remember being like, oh my God, I need to do that too. She's going to grow this as big as possible. She wants a really big team. She wants a lot of success. Like I'm a failure if I don't make it as big as possible, if I don't grow this as big as possible, if I don't go from 50K months to 100K months to 200K months to 30, just all this bullshit of just constantly more and more and more and more. And I started last year building a business like that. I got co-coaches, I hired team members, like I started building it. And literally after months, I was like, what the fuck is this? I hated it. It felt messy. It was extremely expensive for no freaking reason. There was no ROI on any decision I was making. And then this year I was really thinking about it and I was like, okay, I could build the business with a massive team with this. And I thought about that. And then I looked at like, what if I just made a lot of money and built something that was really easy and simple and not too complex and had one team member? And when I was really thinking about the decision, I was like, I kind of want this, but I don't feel like I should have that. I feel like I should want the other thing. I feel like I should want the more success, the flashier success, the more professional, impressive kind of thing that I could show people. Like, look at how big my business is. Look how many team members are on my website page. First of all, bitch, you can literally take people's screenshots and fake a team member. Like, I don't even know why that was like my concern, but I felt like shame in what I wanted. It's not that I didn't know. I actually knew I didn't want the big business. I wanted one team member. Thank you, Lexi. Don't leave me. I'll cry. I wanted one team member. I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to pay her well. I wanted to pay myself well. I wanted to put probably $20,000 to $30,000 in my bank every single month, and I wanted to retire at 40. None of that makes sense with her vision. By the way, her vision is amazing, but it's not mine. And so I want to just like be very transparent with you guys that even in my own journey of being a very aggressive person, a very direct person, I feel like I go after what I want. I also feel like I've made the mistake of going after what I think I should want, not what I actually want. And in my business, I've made that mistake. In relationships, I've made that mistake. Any of you guys have that list of like that dream guy that you want, and he's like 6'3", and he's blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. My boyfriend now did not check half of my boxes that I had. In fact, on our first date, I don't talk about him very often, but I'll talk about B for a second. On our first date, I literally was like, absolutely not. He didn't only check like 2 boxes. And now he's my favorite human being in the entire world. He's my best friend. We complement each other well. He calls me out on my bullshit, which is annoying for my ego, but also very needed for my ego. Like, we just fit as if we've been together my entire life. And even sometimes with my friends, I've always wanted certain things in friendships. And I'm like, oh, but this and this and this. Like, sometimes what we think we want, or sometimes what we curate as like this perfect vision, isn't actually what we really want. And I think if we took away Instagram, I think if we took away some of the things that make us feel like we're constantly comparing ourselves, our money, our income, our business, our career, our house, our engagement ring, our wedding, any of that stuff, if we actually like stripped away the ability to compare what other people had, I don't think that we would want the things that we want. I actually don't think that a lot of you guys would live the lives that you do. I think if a Chanel bag didn't have a logo on it, less people would buy it. I think that if I 4 years ago wouldn't have seen women posting their big closets on social media, I don't think I would have ever built out a 4th bedroom closet. Like, I love it, but like that definitely came from this like, look how impressive my closet is. So I think the thing I really want to ask you guys is like, what do you want? And if no one could give you opinions on it, or if you couldn't compare what you want to someone else, would you still want the thing that you're telling me that you want? And I want you guys to like really take a look at that this week, because we're coming into the summer, depending on when you're listening to this. Right now it's June, and it's a new month, and it's the summer. The energy is different because you're not like cooped up at home. Although I'm going to be very honest with you, I love fall season. I look the best in a blazer, but that's a whole other thing. I love how I'm wearing a turtleneck, and I just told you guys it's June. That's highly embarrassing. I love a good turtleneck, and that's something I do want. I want to wear a turtleneck on this podcast because it makes me feel good about myself. Fuck off. But I want you guys to really think about that. Of like, you're going into kind of almost the halfway point of the year. You might have started 2025 saying, this is the year I'm going to work out. This is the year I'm going to do this year, whatever. You're almost halfway there. You have another month till you're halfway. What do you want? I want you to like write it out. Where do you want to live? How far off is your current situation from where you want to live? Could you make any steps to getting closer to that situation? Well, how do you want your day to look? Do you want to have a flexible schedule? Do you want to be in an office? Do you want to wear a suit to work? Do you want to be in pajamas all day? Like, please don't be in pajamas all day, by the way. I heard Emma Greedy, or Emma Greed is technically her name. I always called her Emma Greedy. Fuck me. But I thought her name was Emma Greedy, and it's Emma Greed. She just launched a podcast, and she literally said, I would have been so much less successful in life if I would have had a work from home job in my 20s. I actually fully agree. Getting in an office and being around people, oh my God, it's so great. Like, do you want to be around people? Do you want to live in the city? Do you want to live in a house? Do you want to be single? Do you want to be in a relationship? By the way, all these things can change, because back to what I originally said, every day is a canvas. So if you were like, I want to be single right now and I want to live in the city for a couple years and like do my single girl drinks on a Thursday, wearing high heels 5 days a week, like I want to wear a suit to the office and like, you know, get my butt all looking tight, my little pants, and like carry my little whatever bag. Like, by the way, I wanted that, and I did that in my 20s. I mean, not that really going out on the Thursday because I worked 120 hours a week, but like I did that life and I was very happy during that, kind of ish. But I did that. And then immediately after I was like, fuck this, absolutely not. You can change your mind. You can love being single right now with the idea that in 4 or 5 years, you want to be in an amazing relationship. You can live in a city for a couple years and then say, you know what? Now I'm ready to settle down. You can be like, I want to own a house because I just paid for college like I did at 22, and I want to have a 2-car garage, and I want to have a yard, and I want to have a 3-bedroom home, and that was what I wanted at the time. And now I'm like, is that something I want? I don't know anymore. So I just want to give you guys permission that a lot of the times we think about being like the main character of our life, of like, I'm the main character. You're not a fucking character. You're the director. You're the writer. You're the like leader of your entire life. And you have this fucking blank canvas in front of you. And instead of getting the opportunity to wake up and paint it and put it in the way that you want and live where you want and do what you want and have friends the way you want and like feel the way that you want and literally enjoy the fact that you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So many of you guys just let those paints like literally fall on your canvas and be like, well, this is what happened yesterday, so I'm just going to keep heading this direction. And I want to give you guys permission that you have so much more ownership over your life than I think you give credit for. But if you let what other people want or they deem as successful or they deem as amazing at the time, or that's what makes them happy, them being in a relationship and having children, and when you're like, absolutely not, take that fucking smelly ass diaper out of my face, like you can do it the way that you want. But the biggest mistake that I think you all can make is letting yourself completely just like fall victim to the mundane day in, day out that some of you guys are living. And I say this as someone who I think has had a lot of awareness this year that most of my life has been because I wanted to live a certain place because it was close to the people in my life or close to my family. I always wanted to have a certain job because it made me feel good to other people, not because I enjoyed it. I worked a job I hated because it made me feel better about myself to other people. I always bought like the big house or the big closet because I was like, look, it made other people think I was successful. And I think a lot of the decisions in my life, I look back and I don't think I did them because I wanted it or because it's something that I felt good about. It's something that I thought other people would approve of or be proud of me for or validate in me. So this is a conversation I feel like I want to bring a couple of experts on to talk through this, or if any of you guys want to be someone who kind of can talk through these in different lenses of like where you live or your friendships and transitions. I just have a lot of heaviness and love for women right now who are maybe sitting at their life and saying, what if it could be different? And it's not that you have to be miserable to want that, but even some of my young girls, my 22-year-olds, my 23-year-olds getting out into corporate life and kind of falling victim to this like hustle mode of chasing the next thing. I want to give you guys permission that there are no rules except for rules that were not created by you. So if you created those rules, how would you write them? What would that look like? And maybe those are things that you guys can take back with you this week. So I do hope that this is a really important conversation. I just wanted to make a little, I wouldn't say a light podcast episode, but just something that you guys can kind of come into, listen, maybe more thought-provoking for you guys who are sitting there kind of thinking about your life, thinking about 2025, thinking about what your vision is for the next year. Where would you like to be in 6 months? Where would you like to be in a year? What job do you want to work? Where do you want to live? What friends do you want in your life? Like, you guys just have so much ownership, and I really want you guys to take advantage of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.